She should just talk right to Jim Council. I'll make sure she does. She should have that information.
I could ask her. What I worry about.
They'll have some stuff there. They're kind of information you're not reading right, so you're going to see your period next. Look for your books up, those aren't good ones. Transfer. They forgot about that. They should have done it up when they were doing that. So who knows, that opened up for that exploration. Hopefully this needs to be repackaged. Just finishing up. Manuals left, it was delayed.
But I also.
Easy at the treating down here. That big one, right? They were done, they just needed to go down there something. It's a line to, they're inspecting all the structures.
That's what I'm
Hoping we get started.
Yeah. Well, she did. She did.
I've won
We did make California in the ship sort of big.
Just do 4 days last week. Take off Friday. The plan is to go pulverize on 26. 7 points. Start calling the water down in the intersection.
I mean, I know.
And start actually digging Tuesday afternoon. First excavation. We're going to meet on site. We have a progress meeting on site next Thursday.
Oh, yeah, it's working well. Hi. Okay, it is 6:00. Welcome, everyone. It is August 12th. Holy cats. And welcome to the sewer update meeting. Steve? Yep.
1 second.
It's okay.
All right. All right, good evening. It's been a busy day yesterday and today with meetings and that, getting an update for everybody. First of all, the sewer plant. There's the second new blower was started up today, so they have 2 operational blowers there. So once the second train is ready, they can run 2 trains with 2 blowers in place. The third blower won't be in place until after we get a building addition put on there, which we're going to be putting another change order for that. But anyway, that was good. The Aeromod representative was in town today for that startup, and he went around on a walkthrough with Francaro's Construction's crew and Johnny Green's crew to look at the additional, all the other Aeromod equipment that's being installed or has been installed, and now they're getting all wired up and piped in. He didn't see any issues, and so they went ahead and scheduled for September 8th for him to come back to do the dry startup, to check out all the equipment, make sure everything is working properly. If that goes well on the 8th of September, then we should, over those next couple of weeks, be able to slowly bring the plant online, the expanded half of the plant online. We're meeting next week to go over all of the schedule on that with the operators to make sure we have everything sequenced right. So my guess is that the second train will be online probably the 3rd week of September, if all goes well. And in talking with the operators, because they've been running at capacity basically all summer. And there'll be a little drop here for a few weeks and then a surge then for Labor Day weekend. They don't want anybody hooking up in the new parts of the system until after the second train is up and running. We've talked for the last little months, they might allow a few hookups here and there. But because it's been going at capacity, that they really don't want to take that chance. So best guess that after the 3rd week of September is when they'll probably say people can start hooking up now. Let me go through my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. And that was pretty much the gist of it. So, we have to also get the USDA engineer for the state up here to do a substantial completion inspection. So I've got a target date of the 24th of September that I floated this morning. I have not talked to him yet. And he's going to want to do the substantial completion for this contract and Matt's contract and Elmer's contract all at the same time, so he doesn't come up here 3 times from Lansing. So that's what we're going to target there by that 3rd week of September, is getting him up here for that. Any questions on the wastewater plant status? Yes, sir.
Surge tank, that's already been installed.
The surge tank's in. Once we get the startup inspection over and we can start working towards it, the first thing they're going to have to do is core from the new surge tank into the existing tanks, so they can start have a path for that stuff to get in there. We have a path from the new tanks piped and all that. We don't have anything. We have to core into that tank. So that's the first domino in the blocks there. But yeah, it's ready to. They'll set the south pump and the north pump, which is for the old tanks. They're not going to set that till after they get that cord through. So it's essentially done. Yeah. Most of the stuff is in at the plant. Right now it's a matter of wiring and most of the piping's in. It's mostly just all the connections, a few here and there. And the railings around the top of the tank, they were missing some stuff. They ordered a few bits and pieces to put the last few connections together. Half of it came in last week. We expect the other half coming this week. So next week we're going to finish up the railings and that as well for all the catwalks around the tanks. Other questions on the plant? Yes, sir.
What's the capacity for the new addition?
It doubles it, so
96 or 98.
96,000, yeah. I want to say it's 96,000. It's basically just exactly double it, same tanks, plus we put in the surge tank, so.
96,000 a month?
Gallons per day,
Gallons per day?
yes, sir. Other questions on the plant?
What is the search?
What it does, when you have these big weekends like the boat races or 4th of July, if you're maxing out capacity, you can divert extra flow into this big tank to process later when things go down, whether it's at night or later that week. It's basically a big extra capacity. Nothing's treated in there. That's where the stuff, it goes and it sits until it can get treated. And either train can access to that tank.
You're gonna have tanks on this, you need to later on for additional flow.
Yeah, the way this is designed is, yes, they can, and if they want to do it again, they can put another little set in.
Because we've got the flows, even with seasonality, I'm thinking that surge tank will be used at the state park by anybody going.
Yeah. The operator says that they've really been getting a lot of flow from the state park this year. So, and they're open until mid-October, I believe. So they're not seeing that going down even during these couple of weeks here in between now and Labor Day. They're going to see a pretty steady flow. Other questions on the plant? All right. Matt's Underground, which has the low pressure sewer contract for basically north of the bridge from Prospect into the club, and then also the 7 properties on Martin Island over here at the end of Arthur Street. They've got all their curb stops in. Today they were pulling mandrels, which means they're going back to all their gravity lines, and our inspectors having them pull a metal pig through to make sure all their pipes are round, they're not flattened, and something's not wrong. So they're just finishing that up when I left late this afternoon. CBC was taking out a big tree that was slowing down. They had to get down pier, and that great big tree down there is being taken down. Well, they started yesterday, and they're going to be finishing tomorrow. So it's a slow process. Their 2 lift stations have had power for a while, but they were waiting on some capacitors that finally came in last month, and they had 2 floats that they were missing. Those came in a couple weeks ago. They went to wire everything up last week, and the floats were stolen or something. They just walked away from the site, so we don't know what happened to them. They overnighted some more, which they got in last week, so they're ready to go. We're trying to get those startup tested next week. We're trying to schedule that. Once that, and our inspector's going around with them today and tomorrow, looking at every structure they have, vacuuming out, looking for any debris in the channels, seeing if there's anything that needs to be cleaned up or patched. So that should be done later this week. If all goes well, then that system will essentially be ready to start taking people when the plant can start taking them. They've scheduled for the ones that get grinder pumps. They're going to be doing those starting in September, getting installs in and working September, October, November, trying to get all those in. Anything else on that? And they have some restoration work still to get cleaned up as well. See some grass growing by the bridge, especially. They missed some spots. They need to get some raked out and get some grass seed down up there. Yes, sir.
Just curious, what was the issue by the post office?
No, that was planned.
Oh,
The post office and the 2 houses to the north of the post office on Juneau were on the current system. And those 3 went to a little mini lift station right there at the corner. And you can still see there's the electrical panel still there. And it will be there until Consumers comes and disconnects the power to that. But we had to wait until the timing was right, so that we wanted to make sure that this system down here could take stuff before they switched them over to the new system. So when they did the installation last year, They brought the laterals out from those new main lines across the curb there for those two, and then you can see where the pavement was, you can see where the pavement where the post office was put in a long time ago. But you can see where we went up, and there was new pavement going up more perpendicular to Juneau up to the post office, and they stopped, knowing that they would have to come back when the connection time was and dig that up and connect the post office to the new system, then go over and pull that lift station and connect those other two houses. So that's what they did a week or two ago. I was out of town when they did it. So now Reith Riley is their paving subcontractor, and they're I can't forget who owns who, but they're a sibling company with Elmer's. And so they're waiting till Reith Riley is in Indian River doing something bigger, and they can sneak in and then just knock those out as well and repave those. And they got the curb poured last week, I think, too. They'd hoped not to have to pull out that curb, but they didn't. They ended up having to pull it out, so they replaced it. So, yeah, there was no problem there. It was a planned connecting them. So there are 3 properties on the new system, but it's not making anything more of the plant yet because they came off the old system. Plus, with just 3 properties, it's going to take forever to get that Lake Street lift station. If there's only 3 properties going into it, they probably won't pump that thing for a month. So. Let's see. So that's pretty much what's going on with Matt's. Elmer's, all 3 of their lift stations are operational. They've been turned off, but we tested them last week or 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago. So they work. The one at Arthur Street, we need to swap out the tops. The neighbor across the street, they want to have a driveway to their property on the same side as the lift station there. The grates there were not vehicle rated, they were pedestrian rated for 300 pounds per square foot. We need to get them rated for an H20 truck axle loading. So those hatches are on order. When they come in, they need to get cast into the new tops, and we'll pop those tops off, put the new tops on. And we're also going to, at the same time, we're going to core for the vent tube that comes up, and we'll put it over by the panel on the side there. So they'll have access for a driveway at that spot. So we don't want that one to go dirty until we get that stuff done. Be a lot easier to get that work done. But it should be all about the same time as the plant coming on anyway, as it looks. And down at the beach, that one's ready. They'll be filling that stuff in down there. They will be pouring a little bit of concrete around where the electrical connection goes up into the panels. But they're essentially ready to go. They've got a few things. They went around this last week and fixed a bunch of stuff that our inspector saw. The same thing Matt's is doing now, vacuuming out every structure, looking for any debris, looking for any channels that weren't quite mortared in quite right. Just stuff like that. So they've been working on that. Matt is also going to be reinstalling the little wooden bollard posts down by the Prospect Street lift station across from the green dock. All those little wooden bollards will go back in. The split rail fence will go back in. They'll be doing that hopefully either this week or next week. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, well, the bathrooms have to be partly connected.
They are not. They're not part of this. I know the township is working on grants, trying to get something. What we did as part of the project, we know there's still discussion on even where to put the bathrooms. Would it be more like on the same side where they are now? Or there's also other opinions they should go on the south side of the parking lot down that corner. What we did, we left a connection either direction there, right at the entrance to that parking lot. So when they make the decision, it's not a big deal to connect them.
We've been in discussion, we are looking for grants. We are in discussion with the HD4 out of Sheboygan County. There's some thought that really and truly that vault bathroom, like any vault toilet, is nothing more than a septic tank with a building over the top of it. So the question to Kyle Keller, and I spoke with Aaron Nordman today and Steve recently, that why couldn't we consider it like a homeowner would consider a septic tank. Clean it out, fill it in, cover it with, remove the stool in the sink, cover it then with concrete and treat it as the plummet for a seasonal bathroom. Both felt that was reasonable. We've asked them to come down for a site visit from DHD4. We're just waiting to make the connection there. They may say optional, a great idea, or they may say no go. But we're trying to recycle and reuse what we have. It seems to be a sturdy building, but we'll ask the question and let them make the decision. That's where that is.
If you get a grant for a real bathroom, well, that'd be nice.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so don't give up, don't give
No,
up.
we're not
on
giving
that.
up. We're not giving up.
NEDC also has an option for that, because they do that for public parks.
Right. We have an MEDC crowdfunding program going on here now, and they don't like you to run simultaneously. So, yeah, that is an option. Yeah, that is an option. Something.
Yes, sir.
Steve, I'm on Sturgeon Island, and I
Okay.
spoke with you a few months back
Okay.
on the tanks that you guys are providing and installing on the property. And my question was, I wanted to provide my own, because I wanted dual pumps
Right.
instead of single pump, and I wanted a bigger tank. And I got the question back that if I did that, I could go ahead and do that, but I'd be on my own, as far as maintenance and warranty. My question, I guess, is the tanks that the township's providing, are they maintaining and servicing these and warranting these pumps for life? Because the answer I got was yes.
Yes.
So whenever somebody calls on a holiday weekend or a Sunday and that pump's out, township's got somebody that's gonna maintain these pumps, put pumps in, change the pumps, whatever they need.
Yep, we have a contract with Mead and Hunt. Now, I will urge you all to go read the ordinance, because there is a section, and I just read it today. It talks about things that you do not put in the sewer system. If we send Mead and Hunt out, or a contractor to clean out, you have a pump that stopped and there's something in the impeller, and it's found to be an item that is do not put in, you will be billed for that repair. But if it's, the pump is just mechanically quit, that's on us. So again, I urge you to go out and read that ordinance, because it tells you certain items are no-go. Tonka trucks, feminine hygiene products, baby wipes, tube socks, you might be surprised.
If that pump goes out on a Sunday and it's a holiday weekend, you got a house full of people, how quick are they gonna get?
I would have to defer to Tammy, but she has a remote alarm. So she gets it at home, she gets it on her phone, we do have a full-time operator now, as well as adjunct people. So I can't speak for them, but I would say within, 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, this winter we had an alarm go off, and she was out of town and she was here within the hour. So again,
So they're stocking pumps or the township?
that's the goal, to have some on the shelf. Yes,
The township?
yes,
Because the warranty on those pumps is only good for 2 years.
correct.
18 months from the day it's installed by an installing contractor or.
Yep. Yep.
Being a manufacturer.
Yep. So do that with however many pumps we put in, and the life is 10 to 15 years on average. I hate averages. I mean, some go at 3, some go at 5, some go at 17. Yeah. We have to build some equity in our R&I account.
That's a good segue into the phase 2 contract. I spoke with Walton this afternoon, actually after 5 today, just to double check. They're planning on mobilizing starting next week. Probably Monday you'll see stuff rolling in. They have made an agreement with Mel Wallace there at the corner of Holden and Witt. He's got 3 properties there at the end of the canal. That'll be their staging area for equipment and materials. They plan to pulverize Barbara and West Dorothy on the 26th. And they plan to set points at the intersection there of Barbara, West Dorothy, and Doris. What I mean by set points, they'll be putting down and pumping water out of the ground there, probably for several days. So their plan right now is to work Monday through Thursday that week, getting the pavement pulverized, getting the points set, getting stuff staged, and then take off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then start digging in at the lift station there at Dorothy and Barbara and Doris the day after Labor Day. And then from there, once they get those in, that'll probably take them all that week. And the following week, start digging up eastward on Barbara, and then come back and then eastward up West Dorothy. Then they'll pulverize Doris and Birchfield, hopefully get Barbara and Dorothy paved, and work their way up. We'll know a lot more after those first couple of weeks what their production is going to look like. How bad's the water, how bad's the soil, how good's their crew. I know Elmer's was moving pretty fast. Yeah, I think their best day was close to 400 feet. A lot of times it was in the 250 range on good days. Matt's had a lot of dead ends, and it's tougher to work. Two crews, one digging and one backfilling on a dead end. Walton's going to have some more dead ends down here. Dorothy's a big dead end, and then all the other major streets have a dead end part for that last block. So I don't know if how far they're going to get this fall. I've been telling people as we go, I'm fairly confident they get Barbara and Dorothy and Birchfield and that, maybe South, or maybe Holden. I'm not real confident they'll get up to South and Mac. They could surprise me though, and we'll know more, by this time next month, how fast they're going.
You
Yes, sir.
said Holden and Witt, that's where they're going to be having equipment, construction yard and stuff.
Yeah, Mel Wallace has 3 lots right there at the end.
They live on Holden, so it's possible they might do Holden and Witt, get sewer in this fall, or is that maybe?
The fact that they're staging right there, I think is immaterial to how far they're going to get, because they're working south to north. So I'm just trying to set expectations. So I don't want to overpromise. I definitely don't want to overpromise and say, yeah, they're gonna blow right through this. Things could go to crap, and if they don't get Birchfield done, I don't know. Yes, sir.
Steve, so the tanks will be set by the contractor, correct?
You're talking about for grinder pumps?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and the tanks will be set. Whose responsibility is it to connect it from the house to the tank?
It's the responsibility of the homeowner to connect it from the grinder pump to the house and the grinder pump to the curb stop.
And is the township requiring permits for that, for each one?
Yes.
Well, the counties, yeah, you have to apply to the township, and then you have to a permit application to the county as well. And their position right now is that they are going to inspect every one. I wasn't there for the meeting last week they had. It sounds like they might have softened a little bit when they said, paraphrasing, I think that if they can't get to some, and it's going to hold things up, they would defer to us or our contractors in that. But they're not saying that they're going to blanket defer to them. We're hoping that maybe they'll soften a little bit more once we get going, and either A, they see how many it is going to be, and it's going to be a pain for them, or B, that we actually know what we're doing. So, or a combination of both. But yes, sir.
On the corner of Witt and Holden, there is a catch basin that's on Mel Wallace's property. And all the ditch water goes into that catch basin, and then it goes underneath Witt Road, and then dumps in to the Harbor Woods Association Canal. And so that is also a fire easement where it's no stopping, standing, or parking because it's a fire lane. So I would like to meet you if I could. I talked with the road commission. What our concern is the catch basin is full. Everything that comes into those pipes from the north and south, and then drain into that catch basin. We need to get that catch basin dug out so there's a sump in it, you know, to catch that, because we're getting sand and stuff into the canal. And so if I could just meet you there, because what we're worried about is when that road is pulverized and you're putting in sewer, until the road and the ditches are stabilized, there's gonna be a lot of sand flowing in those ditches. So I would just like to meet you out there and see what we could do to limit that. Because right now, there's been sand going in there for decades. And I went up to the courthouse to try to get the easements on those, and they don't show any recorded. When I talked to Matt, who's head of the road commission,
Right.
Today, he said that they're responsible for the right of way, you know, and the water inside the right of way. And I said, okay, but the road has ditches, and the road is, so the water, you know, falls to the ditches from the roadway. I said, who's responsible for that water that and sand that goes into our canal?
And what did he say?
He had no answer. He said, well, we're only responsible for the right of way. So if the water from the road is draining into the ditches, into the catch basin, and into our, which another thing is, the city, he's responsible for the drainage. The road commission is what my understanding was when I spoke with him. Because and then I touched base with you, Trudy, a couple days ago. And somebody's got to take care of it. And it's not the drain commission. In the city, it's my understanding, it's the road commission that's maintaining the ditches for the roads. Is that true? I just need some clarification on that.
Yeah, they were cleaning ditches last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if that's a fire lane, and there's a sign up that says fire lane, no stopping, standing, or parking, so the fire trucks can go down there and get water in case if they need it in an emergency, you know, in the channel there. I just would like to meet with you, and there is water that goes from the road into our canal, and that's got to be dredged. It's been years, and the only thing slowing us on that is we got a bit of hundreds of thousands of dollars. We down by the Burnt Lake, it's an L-shaped channel, and we just dredged that. That was about 6,000 or 7,000 just for that little piece that comes from Burnt Lake into there. But the long piece, we just need your help there to make sure that we don't get any more sand in there. It is a safety for the village if the fire trucks need to draw water from there. So I you know, but if it's full of sand, you know, it's getting fuller, they're gonna have a hard time drawing water out of a shallow end there where the water's draining.
All right. Contractor's going to be up here on Tuesday and Thursday next week, and I'll see if we can arrange a meeting to go over that. I know as part of their soil erosion and conservation permit, they'll have to put silt fencing up in all these areas, including around, you know, these catch basins like that. During phase one last summer and fall, Rob Sosha, who was the foreman for Indian River here, he works for Matt.
Okay.
He was on site every day, multiple times a day, because we were finding stuff he didn't even know he had. We were fixing
for so long.
Yeah, we were fixing stuff for him. If we found a pipe that was in bad shape that was his, he would throw us a new piece of pipe, and as we went by, we just put a new piece of pipe in for him instead.
Excellent.
That kind of stuff. And so, yeah, we're very conscious about all that going on.
So yeah, he's gonna check that basin out, because if there's a sump in there, like there's supposed to be, but it's been in there for decades, so it's gotta be pretty much full, and the water just comes right directly into the channel with no detention, no sump. So that would be great, Steve, if we could just take a look at that next week. That's Harbor Woods Association, and we've got to look at in the next couple of years of doing some more dredging, and so yeah, if we can just.
Okay.
So you got my number, I believe, when we met before, or
Yep,
do you want me to
yep.
leave it to you after this week?
No, I've got you. You've got the 4 properties there at the end of Holden, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, okay, I told you what the schedule was. We've been focusing on trying to make sure we have all the lateral locations marked on Barbara for the gravity section, not going out towards Sturgeon Island yet. Barbara, Dorothy, and Birchfield, this last month or so, we've got them all, just about all those pinned down. So now we've branched out. We've actually started knocking on doors up in, South and Holden and a little bit on Mac. And also people are contacting us because they say, hey, my neighbor's got all these stakes out. How come I don't have one? Well, we didn't have your number. So we've been catching up that way. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how long we won't have access to our, when they're pulverized and when we actually do it?
The day they pulverize, it doesn't take all that long to pulverize, but then they have to roll it. Otherwise, it's like driving on the beach after they first do it. And they'll have a roller there. And so it'll be a little difficult that day, especially if it's a car that's not all-wheel drive or that. But it shouldn't be too terribly bad. The difficult part is going to be on the dead-end streets when they're actually digging in the lines. Because it's at the end of each day, they try to make it so people can get in and out, but it's not always possible. I think some areas it's going to be a little easier to get around. On Oak Glen, it was tough because you have ditches on both sides, and there's really no way to give them a little bypass around.
Will we get notified, like, what
Right.
days, because I'm on board, what days we
Yeah.
won't
What we're-
have access?
What we were planning to do was, have a flyer go out like the week before. So that would be next week. We plan on putting a flyer out for Barbara and Dorothy saying, yeah, look, this is the plan. We're going to be they'll be pulverizing on the 26th. And then we'll start, once it's pulverized and they get it rolled that day, it's just like a gravel road. It's actually a little better than a gravel road because it's pulverized asphalt, so it stays together a little bit better. We don't know how long it's going to take to dig up all the way to the end of Barbara and then come back and start doing on Dorothy. So we're going to try and give people, a week or so notice on when stuff's going to be going on in front of their house.
When you say a flyer's going out, is it like before where it's just, you have to keep checking the website, or is somebody gonna like put it in our door?
We've been putting them in doors. That's what we did on phase 1. We try to go, knocking on doors. If we're there, we'd stick it in the door that looked like the most obvious one that they would actually open. And I don't know, we try to get the word out. We try not to be secret about it. And then I'm building this network of phone numbers too. So I know, especially on some of the more vulnerable people, we would actually call them if we know that they'd have trouble. They can't park at the end of the street and walk. They have mobility issues, so we try to coordinate things like that. Even if it means help them get a ride, to the end of the street. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm not looking forward to with all these dead ends compared to what we got over here on this side of the project, where most of the places you can get to it from 2 different directions. Oak Glen was the major exception. It's not going to be fun. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but the end product is going to be good. If you're in phase 2 and you see there's no stake in your neighbors and you think maybe they haven't talked to me, if you have a number for them, get it to me or have them call me or something. It's tough, especially on all these Verbos and Airbnbs. Until last year, I didn't realize how many of them there are. People that just don't live in these places anymore. They're just rented out, and then they get turned over. They're re-RPO'd and they sell them. So you're going through like 3 different layers of trying to find out who to talk to. Any other questions? For those of you that were wondering, the EPA finally got their act together. We're all caught up on pay. So contractors all been paid, we've been paid. It was a painful process getting through that, but thanks to Trudy,
Well, yeah.
she persevered. Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for being so patient. It was a team effort for sure.
We're still waiting on the $1 million in supplemental funding to get pulled in. It's been so close for so long.
It's at grants.gov. It's in the pipeline. Yeah, I made a phone call today. I'll chase him down this week. Or contact there to see if he's seeing anything. We'll log back in and see if there's any notice there, but it's in the pipeline.
When I worked in municipal government up in Alaska, I rarely went after federal grants. It was lucrative at the time, but it was just so much paperwork. And state grants were great. I love state grants.
Yeah.
And I know back 10 years ago, a lot of the grants then, you had to prove you were creating jobs, which meant not only did you have paperwork before and during the project, for 5 or 10 years after the project, you still had to document how many jobs you were creating as part of your project. So, yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and this might be for Trudy, but also for Sue. When will we start to do some sort of pre-engineering phase on phase 3? Because in one of the meetings it was mentioned there's a large cost of that. But when I looked back to the notes in phase 1 and phase 2, we didn't pay a large cost for that. So I'm just wondering when we can start that pre-engineering phase on phase 3.
I'll say, once we hear from the EPA with that additional $1 million congressional earmark, and there is already, just a minute, I've got a friend here. We do already have a budget set for that. The phase 3 is one of the last things on that budget. We have that $1 million pretty much spent. So it's gonna depend on when that grant comes through. And then we have certain items that we must do to finish the plant. And we have to take a look at it then and see what remains. You know, we still have some things to do for phase 1 and phase 2. As far as when, I don't know what to tell you, Patty. I'd like to at least get some shovels in the ground for phase 2 and have an idea of what type of a timeline we might have on that. But the first question I need to get is an answer out of grants.gov and Andrew down at EPA.
So Steve, what kind of funding was paid for phase 1 and phase 2 pre-engineering? I thought that was pretty much done as sort of a preliminary.
I wasn't involved in that, so I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah.
Because there was the initial preliminary engineering report is what, and there's a placeholder in that $1 million for a preliminary engineering report for phase 3.
Right.
Then the actual engineering is usually substantially more than that. So
yeah.
But we started the pre-engineering for phase 2 well before we ever started phase 1 work on the ground.
Right.
So I'm looking at similar kind of timing of like we're starting the next before we really finish the last.
Well, and if you recall, and we've learned this looking back for documentation for this additional $1 million, this project was started as one large project. Yes. And then it was determined that it might be more successful for funding to break it up into 2, which was done. It was done, and it's been proven successful. So, that preliminary engineering report was for that initial large. My understanding of the reading was for that initial large sewer system. And then when it was decided to separate it, there was not an additional pre-engineering. Well, if there was, I've not seen a cost for that. It was done. So, but there is money set aside in the budget, but there are other items that are must-haves before we get to this would be nice to have. But it is in the budget.
We already have a piece of funding that is approved for phase 3, correct?
No.
Yes, we have.
Well,
Yes, we have.
So it depends on whether you're in phase 3 or you are, in phases 1 or 2. That's how I look at it, because I was told by EPA, my contact there, and by Aaron, to stop thinking about this as only phase 3 money, because it is primarily for wastewater treatment plant. We have to put a screen in, we have to put blowers in, we have to put an addition on. I can't remember what else was
But
in
it was
there.
allocated for phase 3. That's what approved. It's for phase 3.
They're pre-engineering, yes. There is an item in the budget for that $1 million set aside for a pre-engineering report for phase 3.
Actually, but the whole million was for phase 3.
Well, again,
If I go back to the notes from these meetings, it pretty clearly outlines that phase 3 had $1 million set aside for it. That's why I'm wondering when are we gonna start that kind of work, because we started phase 2 before we ever started phase 1 with pre-engineering. So just looking at a similar kind of timeframe to keep things moving, it would seem to me that we would now be working on that pre-engineering for phase 3.
well, and like I said before, until we get confirmation, which according to Andrew Tracy down at the EPA, he described this as, I only have to walk it down the hallway. Read into that what you want. It's in the pipeline at grants.gov. Everything is done digitally. It's been there 10 days, and I called him today. So until I hear something, I can't say we have the money. That's not the way I roll.
So can we escalate that to our representatives?
You can try. You can certainly try. I'm reaching out to Andrew. He's been very good helping me.
I would go ahead first.
Yeah.
of course.
And then we can always log back into the website and track it from that side too.
Tree, while we're waiting for EPA, can we go after additional funding for USDA and congressional earmarks and things like that?
I suppose we can, sure. You know, I'm gonna need guidance
Okay.
on that. For sure, that's a new chapter. for
No,
me,
it's
but-
a lot of work, but that's what we're gonna get the rest of the money. So-
Right,
And that takes time too.
yes.
Yeah, and if it's helpful to have a small task force work on that, I'm quite sure we could get people
Sure.
to help. I understand it's a lot of work. I do that.
Yeah.
And the advice that's been given is that if we can get these first couple of ones over the goal line, that will help future funding requests.
Yes.
If you still don't have anything finished from the initial funding, that's been awarded,
I understand.
they're a little bit more reluctant to kind of push something your way. But if you can show that, yeah, we brought this one in under budget, we brought this one in almost under budget, we brought this one in,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
long as you didn't blow something up,
Yeah.
if you can prove that your track record is that, yeah, they know what they're doing, they're not just throwing darts at the wall. They're worth the investment. So,
But we can get the paperwork started and then we say, oh, look what we've done,
Mhm.
sign this next 3 million for us and we're good to go.
right.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
When you and I spoke on what you're gonna tear up on my drive and stuff, and put that in, who is the contractor? I was wondering if I could give them a call and talk to them about, because when we put that in, I've got the old asphalt that's left, and I'd like to meet with them and get a bid from them to finish tearing out the old concrete and
Yep.
drive, and I'll pay them for it.
Right, Walton Contracting has it, and they're,
That's the paper?
they're subbing out the paving to Reith Riley.
Okay.
They're not a sister company like Elmer's was with Reith Riley, but it's the same paver.
Do you have a name and a phone number that I could call?
It's on that list of contractors on the website.
Could you print out I'll pay you. Can you print out a copy so I
We can print those.
Yeah.
We'll get.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anyone in here who has not been to the website and either looked at or downloaded the packets of information? You say. Well, I was gonna say we can print some off and get them to you. they're there for your reference. Sometimes it's easier to have paper in front of you. I'm one of those people. Anyway, it's on the website. If you don't have a printer at home, many of us have given up that ghost. Come on in, we can get you packet. And our phase one people have been our guinea pigs on that, and they're sharing information as they are encountering it to help the phase two people. And I think, Sally, I'm gonna call you out a little bit here. I think one of the things that they've done very successfully at CBC is to have one contractor come in and do all of their connections, their laterals. The contractor that we spoke with, Isaac at Matt's, not Matt at Isaac, Isaac at Matt's, he was going to spearhead all of that, the permitting. Now, Mr. Meyer, I think you were thinking or planning to do your own yourself, and that's fine. For those of us who are not, don't have that inclination, if we're going to use one contractor and maybe do all of South Street or the first 2 blocks of South Avenue or Holden, we might want to get a hold of 1 or 2 contractors, meet with your neighbors, your association, and say, okay, who do we want to go with, and have that one come in. They synchronize it. You're out of your home and inconvenience less. I believe it is going to be an inconvenience, but you have less of an inconvenience. And then they can also take care of some other little projects that you may have that you've put off or good time to do it. And I know Isaac said they appreciated doing it that way too. You've got the mobilization, they're all right there.
They're gonna do all our permits, which is.
Yes, and he was going to pre-fill the permit forms because it's clear as mud. Everybody wants their piece of the pie at the county level. So so for instance, if Holden Street is going to do all theirs with, say, Matt's Underground, they would pre-fill all of your applications. They would write the check to the county for all your permits, and then they would just tack that onto your bill with Matt's. Yeah. So again, easy button. Any other pointers for us for phase 2? Do you can think of?
Dewatering.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
You
yeah.
hope the pump isn't next to your bedroom.
And let's hope I'm a winter lover, so I say this with mixed emotion, hope for a dry winter, even though I love snow. And don't hate me for that, but that does help if we have a dry fall and a dry winter. Any other, yes, ma'am?
Gee, I can vouch for when they came down my street, they bent over backwards to make sure you knew when they were coming, exactly when they were coming, exactly when they were gonna do everything. They
Yeah.
were wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. So
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
They were really good.
They're very approachable. They've been at all the people involved have been doing this for some time. And they're involved in other areas. They're very approachable. Yeah, and we always have Steve.
Because my house hasn't sold.
There you go, good. It's working.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay, 7 o'clock, we have our township regular monthly board meeting for the Tuscarora Township Board of Trustees. You're welcome to stay. My goal is 1 hour and 15 minutes. We'll see if I can hit that today. Thanks for coming. Call us, stop in if you have questions. We're out and about. Thank you.
Page 20, we're out of here.
He's going like-
Amy Travis is over.
He's going like-